can't not admire this astounding home.
It feels like a place you never really want to leave.
My goodness.
I think if I had to pick on something that's wrong with this home, it's probably the fact that I'm not living in it.
Who will take it home in Scotland's Home of the Year? Press red to watch now on BBC iPlayer.
Welcome to the start of the weekend here on BBC Scotland. Time for some news now with Laura Miller and The Seven.
Tonight, another victory at the ballot box for the SNP. They are again the biggest winner in the council elections across Scotland, while Partygate looks to have had an impact on the Tories. And we'll be continuing the coverage of that huge night for Rangers with Amy in the sport.
Yes, Laura, we will look back at all the action from that historic 3-1 win over RB Leipzig and speak to a former striker who's confident will be Rangers with their hands on the Europa League trophy.
And it's the BAFTA TV Awards on Sunday. One of the Scottish nominees, Assassin star David Carlisle, tells us how he's feeling ahead of the big night.
Good evening and welcome to The Seven. I'm Laura Miller. It's been a day of counting at polling stations across the UK with many of the results now in. And here in Scotland, in council elections, it's been a resounding win for the SNP, finishing far out in front. It's a result the SNP will say is another vote of confidence in the leadership of Nicola Sturgeon. In England, there have been some bruising losses for the Conservatives in a result which for some could be a bellwether for the leadership of Boris Johnson after Partygate. Labour have made gains UK-wide, but it's maybe not the big breakthrough their leader, Sir Keir Starmer, would have hoped for. Not great news for him elsewhere either. Police revealed today they are now investigating whether he broke lockdown rules. In Northern Ireland, it's the Assembly election at Stormont, where polls have indicated that Sinn Féin could become the largest party for the first time. Well, that is the big picture. Let's look now at the detail across the 32 local authorities in Scotland. And with the last results announced in the past couple of hours, here is where we are. It has been yet another big night for the Scottish National Party, with an 11th consecutive win, including securing an overall majority in Dundee. But the real battle was for second place, and with 287 seats, Labour are claiming a win. They've also taken overall control of West and Bartonshire. For the Scottish Conservatives, they've dropped more than 60 seats. Leader Douglas Ross saying the Partygate scandal played a big part. And just to show you how things have changed since the last local elections were contested in 2017, both the Lib Dems and the Scottish Greens have made ground, gaining 35 seats between them. Well, with all the big moments from today, here's our political editor, Glenn Campbell.
The SNP's now stronger in Dundee, taking overall control in the city. With further gains in places like Fife and Perth and Kinross, the party's increased its national tally. After 15 years in power at Holyrood, the SNP remains the dominant force in Scottish politics.
This result says that people across Scotland, while they absolutely recognise that the SNP is not perfect, no party, no government is, they trust the SNP and have faith in the SNP to lead the country forward at national and, crucially, at local level.
Labour's not had cause for this kind of celebration for years. Making gains in Glasgow, taking control of West and Bartonshire and seizing second place from the Tories feels like a breakthrough moment a year into this man's leadership.
Let me be clear, I don't aspire for Labour to be in second place. I aspire for Labour to be in first place. Now that we've got Labour back on the pitch, our sights are firmly set on making sure we're competing both for the next UK general election but also the next Scottish Parliament election and trying to change our country for the better.
If Labour's up, the Tories are down. A lot.
Bridget Mustard.
They've lost votes and seats across Scotland, with some north-east gains, including in their leader's home patch of Moray, an exception rather than the rule.
The public have been very clear. They have sent a message here in Scotland and across the United Kingdom that they are not happy with the Prime Minister, they are not happy with Partygate, and as I say, many of them just stayed at home on Thursday. It's not that they've switched to other parties, they just didn't come out to vote, and we as a party across the United Kingdom have to look at that.
While Douglas Ross is pointing the finger at Partygate and the Prime Minister, he's not, as he once did, calling for Boris Johnson to resign. And some Tories say his flip-flop on the Prime Minister's future was part of the problem for the Tories in this campaign.
The Liberal Democrats have made gains, not least in Edinburgh, doubling their numbers to 12 in the city where their new leader has his base.
Well, we're back. We're 100%, we are back. The revival has started today. Now we have got engine rooms firing in all these new areas where we have councillors today that will start to grow activity locally, and we'll see more councillors elected, MSPs elected on the list, and other parliamentarians at Westminster level as well.
Some Green gains have come at the expense of their Holyrood partners in power, the SNP. Government seems to have given the Greens a lift.
We're seeing councillors elected in parts of Scotland where we've never had representation at local council level before. And here in Glasgow, we're seeing good increases in our share of the vote.
In Aberdeen, as in Scotland as a whole, it's a first-place finish for the SNP. And here, a possible end to a Conservative-led coalition.
Well, Glenn is here now. Glenn, let's just try to sum this up then. Where does this leave the main parties and their leaders?
Well, I think the leaders of all the main parties, bar one, have something to celebrate. And it's worth saying that whilst nobody's surprised that the SNP has won this election, we've got used to the SNP winning elections. Take a step back, it is pretty remarkable that they continue to do so after 15 years in government at Holyrood. We expected the Conservatives to suffer a setback. They had spectacularly good results 5 years ago, and of course there's been all the controversy over Partygate and the cost of living crisis as well. I don't think there's any immediate threat to Douglas Ross's leadership, although some in his party are grumbling. He's made very clear he intends to stay put, and his predecessor, Ruth Davidson, is backing him up. In the days and possibly weeks ahead, the next big challenge is to decide who will deal with who in local government, because whilst the SNP can run Dundee on their own, Labour can run Western Bartonshire on their own, in most councils it's going to take partnership and power sharing, and that means a lot of haggling between political parties.
Absolutely, certainly an interesting few days and weeks ahead. You can have a rest though, thank you. Well, elsewhere, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has admitted the Conservative Party faced a tough night in some parts of England, but the picture does remain mixed. In the latest results, Labour are in first place, taking 3 symbolic London councils from the Conservatives. The Liberal Democrats made the most ground, gaining 175 councillors. With the story of the day, here's our Westminster correspondent, Rajdeep Sandhu.
It was all cheers for Labour in London. They've won councils from the Conservatives for the first time ever, here in Barnet, Wandsworth and Westminster.
OK, folks, this is going well.
The painting might be going well, but winning elections in some parts of the UK is proving harder.
This has been a tough night for Conservatives in some parts of the country, and in other parts of the country we're actually moving forward. And so for mid-term, it's quite interesting that it's a mixed set of results.
Conservative councillors on the front line have no doubt where the blame lies, after months of headlines of sleaze and Partygate in Westminster.
Those in power in Westminster really do need to take a good, hard look in the mirror, because it's the rank and file grassroots members that they rely on that are actually losing their seats tonight, and it's pretty disappointing across the board.
This is absolutely great for Cumberland.
The picture outside London is more mixed, and Labour hasn't made gains in those key English northern heartlands that it needs to. But that didn't dampen the Labour leader's spirits.
I don't accept this argument that we're not winning across the country. We are winning across the country. After the depths of despair in 29, this is very, very significant, a real turning point. We put down solid foundations.
Anything to say about the investigation, Sir Keir?
What will dampen his good mood is a decision by Durham Police to reopen an investigation into whether he broke lockdown rules. while the Liberal Democrats were chuffed with their gains.
What began as a tremor in Chesham and Amersham, what became an earthquake in North Shropshire, has now turned into a shockwave across our country that could see this Conservative government come tumbling down.
It's been a good set of results for Labour, the Liberal Democrats and the Greens. A bad one for the Conservatives. But local elections only give a glimpse rather than a clear picture of how people would vote in a general election.
OK, well, let's speak to Rajdeep. Now, Rajdeep, as you were saying, bruising results for the Conservatives. Is this a reality check for Boris Johnson, do you think?
I think it is, Laura. It puts a lot of pressure on the Prime Minister, and while they had tried to bake in these losses, I think there will be a lot of MPs reflecting on what this means throughout the country, because it's not just in London and Scotland and Wales. There's also concerns in those Conservative heartlands where the Liberal Democrats are also making gains. So while there isn't an imminent threat to the Prime Minister's future at the moment, I think there will be a lot of reflection going on. And on the flip side, we've got Keir Starmer, who's had a great day, but potentially will be thinking about what more needs to be done if Labour were to get to 10 Downing Street, because they certainly wouldn't be there at the moment based on these election results. And of course, more damaging for him is this new investigation into whether he broke lockdown rules when he had curry and a beer last year.
Yeah, indeed. OK, but let's just move over to Northern Ireland then. There could be a pretty seismic result there.
Yes, there could be. Now, usually the Unionists are the largest party, and it looks like that could change this year with the Nationalists becoming the largest party. And that would be a huge historic moment because, of course, Sinn Féin want to see a united Ireland. The DUP do not. They want to see Northern Ireland to stay with the United Kingdom. And it looks like on the projections that we're seeing at the moment that Sinn Féin could have the highest vote share. And of course, if they did become the largest party, that would spark big questions for the union.
OK, Rajdeep, thank you. Well, let's get to that other big story of the day. Amy's here, and there is only one story in town, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, Laura. What a result for Rangers last night. Thanks very much. Good evening. Ibrox Stadium hosted a quite sensational spectacle last night as Rangers beat RB Leipzig 3-1 on the night, 3-2 on aggregate to reach the final of the Europa League in Seville. What a journey it has been for them. They lost to Lyon and Sparta Prague in September before finding the form that's seen off teams like Red Star Belgrade and Braga. Last night, the fans created colour and noise ahead of kick-off before everyone paid their respects to the late Rangers kitman Jimmy Bell. James Tavernier and Glenn Kamara sent Ibrox wild with first-half goals. Christopher Nkunku scored for Leipzig before John Lundstrom scored the winner. As usual, Alan McGregor made a vital save, and he and manager Giovanni van Bronckhorst didn't hold back in their celebrations at full time, as we can see there. Just amazing scenes. Well, our reporter Jane Lewis has been looking back at the game and discovering what reaching the final means for Rangers.
First legs to get great victories over some really big clubs, and you know, from that comes confidence, and as we've seen, we are now in a final and probably going to a final as favourites, which is something you would never have even thought of. I mean, cast your mind back 10 years.
They've already made €20 million for reaching the final. If they were to win it, they'd receive a further €4 million in prize money. That would also see them reach the UEFA Super Cup, where they'd face the winners of the Champions League, which would earn them a further €2 million. And as winners of the Europa League, they'd also gain entry to the Champions League group stages and at least €30 million.
The best talent commands the best wages. So it would allow Rangers, especially if they do qualify for next year's Champions League, to go out into the transfer market, because they'll want to put together a competitive squad, and also it will reduce the pressure of the club to perhaps sell a player, which they might have been under had they not made the progress that they've made to date.
Such progress in Europe was started by this man. Today, he said he was delighted for his old club.
Gio deserves all the credit for steering and guiding and coaching and managing this team all the way to the last step. I'm really proud of the job that he's done. I'm really proud of the players. I do know them well. I'm delighted for them. I hope they can go and achieve something extremely special.
But as we know, it doesn't really matter. Rangers have shown in this campaign that the collective can be all-conquering.
That's exactly what Rangers were in 1972. 50 years on and a chance for new heroes. Jane Lewis, BBC News.
Well, about 50,000 fans were at Ibrox last night, but just how many will be in Seville? Well, in the last hour, the Rangers fan liaison officer tweeted that the club's allocation is 9,500. You can guarantee many more than that will be travelling to Spain, with some travel companies now putting on special chartered flights. Well, earlier we spoke to some supporters at Ibrox who are still processing last night's result and now planning for their trip to the final.
Following Rangers over 30 years now, and that's the best atmosphere ever I can ever remember.
I've never felt like that in my life, you know what I mean?
Ecstatic, over the moon, woohoo!
The dogs went mad because every time Rangers scored, I was shouting and roaring in my own sitting room, and they were coming in to see what's Daddy's doing here.
I mean, we've been lucky enough to be just some big football games, but I think last night topped it.
Yeah.
I think across the board, we've never experienced anything like it. In fact, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Myself and my 4 grandson are going to Seville, and hopefully we'll win the cup.
If I can get a ticket or even a train over or whatever, I'm heading there. I'm definitely going.
I'll get there where I can. Plane, train, swim. As Gio said, I think he said there might be people swimming over there. We'll get there. We'll try and get there, definitely.
I bet they will. So, how did Eintracht Frankfurt make it to the final then? Well, Rangers fans might want to look away now because the Germans have taken some impressive scalps along the way, topping their group and beating the likes of Barcelona and West Ham. But things are not so rosy in the Bundesliga. Rangers, of course, have knocked out second place Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig in 5th, while Frankfurt are mid-table in 11th spot. So, yes, anything is possible as Rangers fans, I'm sure, will be thinking right now, well, staying with sport. And on the 1st of June, Scotland and Ukraine will be going head-to-head at Hampden in the World Cup playoff semi-final. The Ukraine players, of course, are taking part in the shadow of war at home. And our sports news correspondent, Chris McLaughlin, has travelled to the team's training camp in Slovenia to meet the team.
It's a nation fighting for its very survival. Normality in Ukraine ceased when Russia invaded in February. Teachers, bakers, bankers and even footballers took up arms.
But it's here in Slovenia that some of those footballers now find themselves, preparing for a World Cup qualifier against Scotland next month. A fixture that just a few weeks ago seemed almost impossible.
This group of players were always determined the game would go ahead, to provide a nation with hope that normality can return. And so, with training at home too dangerous, they search for match fitness here at the Slovenian National Training Centre.
Every day, for me, for guys, we receive the messages from our soldiers, and because a lot of soldiers, a lot of people in Ukraine love football, and they ask only one demand: please make everything you can to go on the World Cup.
They have stories how they moved with their families to save their families. They saw how people lost their homes and even more lost their close relatives. So yeah, the story with everybody and what they say now, for example, the best news in the morning or during the day is just to receive the message from their relatives in Ukraine that they are okay.
Many said they could never assemble, would never be ready. The backdrop may be Slovenia, but this is Ukraine, determined they'll be ready when the whistle finally blows at Hampden. Chris McLaughlin, BBC News, Brodo.
So yeah, Laura, just a couple of weeks till that big game, and we've got another big game coming up tonight actually on the channel. It's the Battle of the Thistles. Inverness Cally Thistle welcome Partick Thistle in the second leg of their Premiership playoff. Inverness leading this one 2-1 from the first leg, but as we know in football, anything can happen.
Yeah, so much football for people to enjoy, and it has been, I mean, that result last night was just astounding. There'll be so many happy people, certainly in Glasgow today.
It's worth saying as well, at the end of the programme, we have some incredible fan footage that just really sums up the emotion of it all. So yes, it's worth waiting for.
Yeah, and we will be hearing those stories, I'm sure, for years to come about how people get to the match in Spain.
Right.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks,
Amy.
Laura.
OK, well, let's have a look at some entertainment news now. David Farrell is here, just skipped in to join me here. And we're talking about the TV BAFTAs this weekend.
Yep, so it's the big night for TV this Sunday at the Royal Albert Hall in London, Laura. TV BAFTAs back with a bang. We had virtual ones last year, obviously in person this year, like most of the award ceremonies now. The nominees include Kate Winslet for the HBO Sky Atlantic series Mayor of Easttown, Olivia Colman for the Sky drama Landscapers, Squid Game, of course, the BBC One drama Vigil, which was filmed not far from where we are, all filmed in Scotland.
All the favourites in there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the BAFTA TV Awards is that it's all the TV shows that we've been watching or binging. It's a Sin is the big one though, the Channel 4 drama, which focuses on the 1980s AIDS crisis in London. 11 nominations for that. Ollie Alexander, who we see there, he's up for Best Actor this year as well. So it's another big night.
Yeah, I mean, it's done, that one in particular has done so well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Sin.
It's like, I think it's like 18 months ago it was on our screen, and it's still getting all the accolades.
Yeah, and you've been hearing from one of the stars.
Yeah, so David Carlisle, who's nominated for supporting actor, a Scot. It's the first BAFTA nomination for him. In fact, 2/3 of the BAFTA TV nominees this year are first-time nominees. They include Kate Winslet, her first BAFTA TV award, Alexander, who we said. Yep, first BAFTA TV one. Jodie Comer as well, believe it or not. And David Carlisle up for his role as Gloria in It's a Sin. He's also up against a co-star from It's a Sin in that supporting category. Callum Scott Howells, who played Colin in that series, he's also nominated. But I spoke to David just before we came on air about how he's preparing for the big night on Sunday.
I suppose I'm going to have to write something to say thank you, just in case, but I haven't got to it yet. I'm still kind of just getting my outfit ready, trying to do that and not leave it to the last minute. I'd be chuffed, of course. I'd be chuffed. I'd be honoured and delighted. I think I'm an outsider. I'm not somebody who gambles, so I'm going for a good day, and I'm going to just enjoy myself. So I think perhaps maybe the straight answer is I'd be shocked. Maybe that's what to say. I'd be shocked.
And the amazing thing about him is that he's still a teacher, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still doing the day job. I think though the demand after being on that hit show, and what he also said to me in the interview is that for him to be part of such a big show that's become, it's become a cultural, a bit of a pop culture phenomenon as well. So David just can't quite believe that he's nominated at the BAFTA Scotland Awards as well and won, and then off to the big TV BAFTAs as well. So It's a Sin's going to be taking him a lot of gongs on Sunday night.
He'd just be the coolest teacher coming in on Monday with us.
And taking time out of his class as well to talk to us tonight. So good luck to them. And what he said is if he does win or anyone wins, he doesn't want to be that guy that loses the award as well, at the end of the party, because they're all up for a party. Why not? So good
Absolutely, luck to them. After the last couple of years, why not? And Sir Billy Connolly, he's going to be getting a big award too.
Yeah, so he's got he's going to be picking up one of the highest accolades from BAFTA. It's the BAFTA Fellowship Award, and this is in recognition of an individual's exceptional contribution to the world of film and TV. Sir Billy Connolly won't be there on Sunday night. He will send a pre-recorded message though. He said that he's deeply honoured. He had no idea that the fellowship existed, but he's told it's a big deal, and he said it's lovely.
I'll take it anyway.
I know, exactly. When the awards come, you don't say no to them. He says lovely to be recognised and to become a jolly good fellow. So it'll be good to see what he's got to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sunday. Well deserved as well.
Indeed. Okay, David, thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
OK, now the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have announced they will be attending celebrations for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee next month with their children. But the Queen has decided that Prince Harry and Meghan, along with Prince Andrew, won't be allowed to appear on the balcony at Buckingham Palace during Trooping the Colour. The Palace also says it won't be confirmed until much nearer the time which of the events the Queen will attend. Here's our royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.
An appearance on the palace balcony is a centrepiece of any major royal celebration, but for the Platinum Jubilee there are sensitivities around some family members. So the Queen has decided that only working royals will join her on the balcony. So, cancelled in balcony terms are the Duke of York and the Sussexes. Harry and Meghan say they are coming to the Jubilee, but they won't be on the balcony. The big question, of course, is how visible will the Queen be throughout the 4 days of the Jubilee celebrations? It all begins on Thursday, the 2nd of June, with Trooping the Colour, at the culmination of which the royal family makes that balcony appearance. According to the palace, the Queen plans to attend Trooping, but a final decision will be taken on the day. On Friday the 3rd of June, there will be a service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral. Again, all the palace will say is that the Queen plans to attend. On Saturday the 4th of June, after the Derby, there will be the Platinum Party at the palace, produced by the BBC, on a stage being built right in front of the palace. Will the Queen be there? It will be decided on the day. And then finally, on Sunday the 5th of June, the Gold State Coach will be one of the main features in a Jubilee pageant on the Mall, though the Queen will not be riding in it. So it is clearly the Queen's intention to be at Trooping the Colour and the service of Thanksgiving, and at the other events if she can. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News.
OK, well now let's see what the weather's got in store for us. Here's Judith.
Good evening. It was a fairly dreich start today with a band of rain moving southwards, but that's pretty much cleared now. We're seeing more in the way of sunshine this evening. And actually, with high pressure in charge, the whole weekend is looking very settled indeed. This weather front coming our way on Sunday night. Now, as far as tomorrow's concerned, it's a largely dry and sunny start to the day. A bit more in the way of cloud across parts of eastern Scotland. That's the remnants of a dying front, and that could linger on and off throughout the day. But generally, it's a dry day, good sunny spells. We'll see a wee bit of cloud building up as we head through the afternoon for inland parts, generating the odd shower across the south, but they'll tend to be a high ground feature. Light wind across the board as well. Temperature wise, it'll be cooler in the east, but could see 17 Celsius in the west, so very pleasant indeed. Sunday starts dry and sunny, then we start to see cloud building over the northwest with a wee bit of rain. Winds pick up too. That's your forecast.
And that is just about it from us for tonight. Before we go, remember it is the Scottish Premiership playoff with Partick Thistle and Inverness Cally Thistle coming up next year on BBC Scotland. But before we go, last night's semi-final win for Rangers is just the 10th time a Scottish club has reached a European final and sparked huge celebrations. No one captures that better than fans themselves, of course. So we will leave you tonight with a look back at some of those scenes. Have a very good weekend. Good night.
This is my unique and amazing